Okay, good morning again, everyone. We're now back on the record. This is in case CR 207179. This case is captioned State of Nevada Plaintiff versus August Anton Peters Defendant. The record this morning will reflect the presence of the defendant, Mr. Peters. Good morning, Mr. Peters.
Morning, Mr. Montero.
We have counsel, Mr. Mathew Stermitz, on behalf of the defendant, Mr. Kevin Pasquale on behalf of the state. I also have appearing today Ms. Bird with Pretrial Services, Officer Hill, Adult Parole and Probation, Ms. Akuma also with Division of Parole and Probation. This matter is on the court's calendar for a pretrial conference. And the hearing today is being conducted via Zoom due to COVID-19 restrictions on the court. Everyone is appearing remotely. Mr. Peters from the Humboldt County Detention Center. And Mr. Peters, how is our connection? Are you able to hear and see me okay?
Yes, sir. I'm able to hear and see you perfectly fine, sir.
Good. And you also are able to see the attorneys. I haven't asked them to speak yet, but you have Mr. Stermitz and Mr. Pasquale. Are you able to see them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. If at any time there's any difficulty with the connection, please immediately notify the deputy or deputies that are with you and or the court, and we'll seek to remedy whatever problem there may be. Okay, with that, we have this matter set for a 5-day jury trial to commence March 22nd through March 26, 2021. This may be the first in what may be a series of pretrial conferences as we lead up to the trial. I've taken some time to review the file, and Mr. Stermitz, I'm going to have to ask you for maybe a little clarification. It looks like when we were last in court, or maybe last time, or maybe it was prior to that, there was some indication that Mr. Peters would be retaining counsel, or there would be some substitution of attorneys. And it was my understanding that some of this pretrial work may have been awaiting some type of substitution of attorneys, but I've not seen any new attorney make an appearance. Mr. Stermitz, is there anything that you can share with the court without invading any attorney-client communication? Would be important?
I believe that Mr. Peters is not going to be procuring different counsel, and so I have been moving forward, preparing accordingly. So that's the answer to that question.
Okay, very good. Then I have an order to issue on a writ of habeas corpus, which will be issued here after today's hearing. Mr. Stermitz, while I have you first, and then I'll come to Mr. Pasquale, any other issues for today's pretrial conference that you'd like to bring to the court's attention?
You know, the only thing I think that could delay this or necessitate a delay would be the defense's ability to examine a gun. And, you know, as these cases often can be, it can be a bit frustrating waiting for the communications between the lab, the police, back to me. But I think I would like to hear from Mr. Pasquale if he has located the gun and whether or not it can be transported to my expert in Washington, or whether he needs to appear in Reno to examine it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pasquale, on that subject or anything else that you'd like to bring to the court's attention at this pretrial conference?
Yeah, thank you, Judge. On that subject, we've been trying to coordinate with Mr. Stermitz as to getting the weapon to his expert. Spoke with the lead detective last week. He was of the impression that the gun may have been finished at the crime lab and returned to the police department. He was to notify me if that was in fact the case, but I haven't heard back from him as of right now. He did tell me there was ongoing analysis that still had to be completed. and was concerned about the trial date and wasn't certain whether the crime lab would be done with everything that they're doing at that time. But we are trying to coordinate with Mr. Stermitz. The crime lab people know the expert that Mr. Stermitz has retained. They have a good working relationship, so I don't anticipate that's going to be a problem, except for maybe in the timing of getting things done, and I'm not aware of their schedule. The other thing I'd like to bring up is that early on in this case, Mr. Stermitz had requested a settlement conference. There wasn't enough information to proceed at that time, but that's still something that might occur prior to the trial date.
Okay. Mr. Stermitz?
And that is my hope, and it's kind of, you know, difficult to in my opinion, to you know, make the best use of that settlement conference absent having you know, examination reports done and case ready for trials. Yeah, I hope we can, and you know, it just seems to be this issue with regard to the gun holding pattern for some time. But anyway, my hope is we can get things resolved, get my expert to do his work, get the crime lab to show their hand, so to speak, and then you know, sure, have a settlement conference before trial.
Okay, very good. I'm inclined today to schedule another pretrial conference in February. I have law in motion on the 23rd of February, which would be just a little over a month, I guess, from today, unless the attorneys desire an earlier continued pretrial. Maybe these issues could be revisited at that time. Mr. Stermitz?
One moment. Let me check with staff here. Hold on. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. And Mr. Pasquale, on that date, concern?
Your Honor, I think that's entirely appropriate, and I think that's probably going to be a pretty good date to have it. Hopefully by that time, Crime Lab will have done what they're supposed to be doing, and we'll have more information. And hopefully by that time, Mr. Stermitz will have been able to consult with his expert regarding that evidence.
And that date does work for me.
Okay, so we'll have a continued pretrial on February 23rd to have an update on these issues as they develop. Also, we can again revisit the issue of a settlement conference prior to trial. I think it will be good as we progress along here to get updates on the status of how COVID-19 might be affecting our ability to conduct jury trials. As we discussed in another case that was set for a pretrial earlier today, the governors apparently extended some of the restrictions for another 30 days that could impact the ability to hold a jury trial due to the numbers of people that can congregate in one place. But you know, I'm optimistic. It's 2021 that, you know, this will continue to improve. I hope it's more than just my optimism. I hope it's a reality for all of us. And unless there's something other, unless there's some other very pressing matter today, I think it's been good that we've had an opportunity to visit briefly about this case today. Mr. Peters, have you been able to hear and the conversations and see all of us during those conversations today?
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
Okay, very good. So we are going to have a continued pretrial on February 23rd. I'm going to tell you it's a stacked calendar at 9 a.m. But since I know we have others that are interested in this case, we may try to set a specific time for it so that people don't have to wait. I'll let your offices know if that were to occur, but it might be, if anything, a little later in the morning rather than earlier on the 23rd. Okay, very good. Mr. Stermitz, anything final?
No, I have some additional discovery I'll be sending to Mr. Peters since he's here and not in my presence. I can't whisper that to him, but it's in any event, I will be sending him some more discovery today that I just received.
Okay, very good. Mr. Pasquale, anything further?
Nothing further. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, thank you all. We'll be in recess for today.